If you're going to try to grow blackberries in a regular subdivision environment, I've done a few things here and made a few mistakes and a few improvements. I've got 6 plants in here, and I live in the Midwest, and I would recommend a variety called Ouachita. Bought it from Start Nursery online. The variety I have currently was just a wild, thornless blackberry dug out of the woods, and they've been good for the last 10 years. But I just bought a new variety, and I'm more happy with that. Trying to keep the birds out is another issue. So what I've done, I used regular top rail fence rails. I put bird netting around it. I originally had a flat top, but because the plants have grown so much, I had to improve my top. And I went ahead and I used plastic pipe. My cage is about 9 feet wide. Then I took a 10-foot piece and I made an arch over the top so that the berries can grow through it and not get stuck in the netting. I've had a good crop so far. I'm about halfway through the season. I've probably picked at least 50 pounds of blackberries off of these 6 plants. But the biggest thing is to shield it from the squirrels and the rabbits and the birds. Around the bottom I have a 3-foot high chicken wire fence keeping the rabbits out. On the corners of my post I had to put chicken wire because the squirrels would climb up the post and then they would just poke through the fencing and they'd get in there. The damage wasn't so much how much they ate, it's that the plants are very delicate when they're growing and they climb over them and they break them, because this includes this year's growth, the crop that I bore this year, plus the new plants for next year. They come out as a cane. And I also took plastic pipe and I made 2 ladder effects, laying them horizontally, and that way when the plants come up I can train them to lay on that. The other thing I would really suggest, I made the mine is facing east to west. I would plant them north to south, that way they get equal amounts of sun around them on both sides. I also have a big pecan tree that has grown over the years and it's shading them. It's not all bad. The ones that are in the shade, they ripen a little bit later than the other ones, but you don't get quite as many and you don't get quite as much foliage out of them. I fertilize them with an acid fertilizer such as azalea fertilizer, and it works very good. The other thing I'm doing that's improved my crop this year, I have a soaker hose and I soak them for about 30 minutes every other day. I also, on my fencing, I put in a screen door for easier access. Originally just had a flap that I would lift, but as time goes on you kind of pick up a few more ideas. And this is the shady side. As you can see, I don't have nearly the amount of foliage that's laying over, or the berries. The berries might be a little hard to see with the shadowing. But I've had a good crop. I make my own wine out of them, give a lot away, freeze a lot of them. You can freeze them whole, just throw them in I freeze them in a smaller container, then after they're frozen I put them in a Ziploc bag and they don't smash. You can eat them all year long. Again, the variety I would recommend for the Midwest is Ouachita. It's spelled O-U-C-H-I-T-A, I believe. Very, very sweet.